But first, the House and Senate chambers sparring over ways to change the big, beautiful bill with less than 3 legislative weeks away from the July 4th self-imposed deadline to pass the bill and get it on the president's desk. Joining me now is Kentucky Congressman Andy Barr, a member of the Financial Services Committee. Congressman, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here.
Good morning, Maria.
How much change are you expecting to see in this bill once you get it back in the House after the Senate does its work?
Well, I think there'll be some changes, and we welcome opportunities for less spending. But this bill is jet fuel for the economy, and we need to pass the bill, frankly, because we have a debt crisis. We need growth. We need to grow this economy so much that what we owe starts to shrink relative to the overall size of the economy. And this bill, especially with the business tax cuts, is jet fuel for the economy.
Yeah, I understand, but one of the issues that the senators are talking about is the cost and the debt and deficits. Ron Johnson's making the point that, you know, he wants to see more cuts, and he actually is pushing to get it in 2 bills as opposed to 1. So do you see areas that you believe can be cut further in terms of spending?
Well, today the House is going to pass what's called a rescissions package, which is a big spending cut bill. And, you know, we don't need taxpayer funding to go to net zero cities in Mexico or transgender operas in Colombia or climate-friendly coffee shops in Indonesia. This bill that we're going to pass today is an additional almost $10 billion in savings, and we need that. We welcome more fiscal discipline from the Senate, but at the end of the day, in addition to fiscal discipline, in addition to the $1.6 trillion that we cut in the one big beautiful bill, we need the tax cuts. We need the deregulation. We need the energy dominance policies of this administration to grow the economy. Economic growth is necessary for fiscal responsibility.
Yeah, I mean, look, one of the biggest issues here is the fact that this bill is going to stop the biggest tax increase that we've seen. And yet Rand Paul is uncomfortable with raising the debt ceiling. He was with me on Sunday. Watch this.
People estimate that over the next 10 years, the United States will add about $2 trillion a year, $20 trillion in debt. The savings, if you don't think the taxes or the tax cuts will cause a reduction in revenue, which I can accept that, and you say, well, the spending cuts are $1.5 trillion. That means instead of borrowing $20 trillion, we'd borrow $18.5 trillion. So the spending cuts are not nearly enough. The example of the explosion of debt is awful and not to be commended. We should be giving them very limited tranches of debt expansion and make them prove to us that they are good with money. But by no means should we give them $5 trillion and say, oh, just keep doing what you're doing. They have a terrible record, so they need more restraint and more oversight, not less.
I mean, Congressman, part of the issue is all that money that went out the door around COVID, maybe overboard, too much money. I mean, you just mentioned the rescissions package, the final vote today on codifying the nearly $9.5 billion in DOGE cuts. But that's $9.5 billion. We're talking about $7 trillion in spending under the Biden years. Is there any way you see, is there a path to get back to pre-COVID spending, in your view, in the coming 10 years?
Well, I think there is, and I applaud Rand for trying to rein in the spending. We need to rein in the spending. If the Senate can give us more spending cuts, great. But here's the bottom line, Maria. If we don't pass the one big beautiful bill, the American people are looking at a $4.5 trillion tax increase. That is a recession. A recession is the last thing we need in order to balance the budget. You can't balance the budget if we go into a recession. So the average family that makes $60,000 a year in Kentucky would see a $1,200 tax hike. That is a recipe for disaster for the economy. The way to get out of our debt and deficit crisis right now is, yes, fiscal discipline, spending cuts like we're voting on today, but also massive economic growth and raising taxes on the American people the way that the Democrats want to do is a massive mistake. That's what will give us not only a recession, but also more debt.
Mm-hmm. I want to get your take on some other issues this morning, Congressman, and you've done so much work on trying to battle communist China. a third Chinese scientist facing charges for attempting to smuggle in a dangerous biological material into America. The researcher taken into custody at the Detroit airport Sunday after flying back from China. She's also accused of lying to federal agents about the scheme. And this comes after the Chinese couple was also accused of sneaking in a deadly pathogen into the University of Michigan. Congressman, you reintroduced legislation to hold CCP fentanyl producers accountable. What should America be doing about this latest attempt to undermine America?
We need to support President Trump, because President Trump is actually taking this immigration crisis seriously. He's stopping this, and the Homeland Security Department is actually looking at Homeland Security threats from more people from China who are engaged in academic espionage, agri-terrorism like this individual, and obviously we need to take this threat seriously. So the bottom line is it's a multifaceted threat, whether it is agri-terrorism like this individual, whether it's academic espionage, whether it is the theft of intellectual property, whether it's the unfair trade practices. Finally, we have a president, and President Donald Trump, who is taking the China threat seriously. No more unfair trade practices, no more spy balloons coming across our country, no more Chinese fentanyl coming across our open southern border. President Trump is taking the threat seriously. That's why we need to continue to sanction individuals in China, government officials who are facilitating the manufacture, distribution, and export of this poison, these precursors from China. And we've had hearings in the Select Committee on the Strategic Competition with China about the deliberate efforts of the Chinese Communist Party to send precursors of fentanyl to Mexico, collaborating with the cartels, and then exploiting Biden's open border. We have a president now who is willing to sanction and work with the Congress to sanction these individuals, these government officials, to make sure that they cannot continue to manufacture these precursors and then seal the border. And we've seen a major progress on the border thanks to President Trump.
Yeah, I understand that. But I mean, right now we are negotiating a trade deal with the Chinese. And, you know, there's a story today in the Financial Times that China is demanding sensitive information in exchange for the rare earth exports. They want sensitive information from companies. And the surveillance continues. How do you balance negotiating with Communist China on a trade deal when we know that we've got constant undermining from the CCP? I mean, these individuals that were charged with conspiracy and smuggling a dangerous biological pathogen into America, one of them, at least we know, there's evidence that they have pledged their support to Mao Zedong and following the ideals of the CCP. So how do we walk this balance of negotiating a trade deal and an economic relationship with a country that is clearly a bad actor?
Well, I think President Trump is actually creating leverage to negotiate these issues with the tariffs. The tariffs are actually giving the president greater leverage. We want to give President Trump even more leverage with our outbound investment screening tool. We want to give President Trump more tools of economic statecraft, and we need to stop American investment from going into China to support technology companies and Chinese military industrial companies and companies that surveil the Uyghurs. If we can stop the flow of capital into China, that gives President Trump even more leverage to negotiate on these points. So the president is creating leverage for himself, and the Congress, Republicans in Congress want to give him even more tools and more leverage in these negotiations.
Well, I think that's a great point, because right now, in particular, the Chinese economy is a lot weaker than people know, and hitting them now while they are weaker in that position is probably a smart move. But Congressman, how do you do that? We've got Chinese companies that trade on U.S. exchanges right now, and some of them are on, lists, sanction lists, and yet investors are buying those stocks.
Well, that's right, and that's why we want to give the president additional authorities through the Office of Foreign Asset Control, through the Treasury Department, to sanction these companies that threaten American national security. And and not only stop American investors from investing in these Chinese entities of national security concern, but also have a multilateral effect and send a message to non-U.S. investors around the world and give them a choice. You can either invest in the Chinese military-industrial complex, the civil-military fusion in China, or you can invest in the United States, but you can't do both. And giving them that choice it will have a major impact and also give President Trump even more leverage in his negotiations with Xi Jinping.
Congressman, we'll be watching your work. Of course, I know President Trump understands his customer here. He knows exactly what the motives are of the CCP. And you're right, we're watching him deal with it as well. Andy, good to see you. Andy Barr is the congressman from Kentucky on Capitol Hill.